under capital will be at 36.778 million. And then we have the last item on infrastructure, which is for leases. These are payments for office leases and in Jozini and all the other regions that the department has, and there will be that 44.3 million. You can see that in the outer years, it increases also slightly by about 5%, just to cater for inflationary increases for office accommodation. Chairperson, on slide 16, we deal with ADA. ADA will be receiving from the department 186 million. That's a slight decrease of about 3.9%. The allocations increase in the 27-28 financial year to 229 by 23%, and also increases on the 28-29 to 239 million, and that's a 4% increase. The ADA chairperson is also estimating revenues of about 7.845 million. This would largely be coming from bulk water and electricity sales in Makhathini, and then interest on funds that are available at bank. So those are the estimated figures for revenue on the revenue side. Chairperson, that would leave the ATA with a budget of 194,709 million for the year. It's both the transfers from the department and also the estimation in terms of revenue. The areas of clarity, which is on the slide 18, focuses more on issues that I've picked up and might need clarity or might be a concern area. In terms of that, the overall vacancies is a concern. To fill 239 posts is not, to me, it doesn't seem as if it's realistic. So out of the critical positions, how many of them within the financial year that we are going into, they will be filling? So we need to have an indication of how many posts they will be filling within the year, because I don't think they'll fill all 239 positions. In terms of budget cuts that have affected them on conditional grants, this area is just a concern area, although some of the projects have been ending in 2025-26 financial year. Foot and mouth disease is still on a concerning area, a very huge area of concern. As the disease spread, we've seen the budget there for fencing in the Makhathini and the quarantine camps that they are creating in the Makhathini area. But we also note that under the veterinary unit, there's still a lot of positions that are not filled, and they might experience issues here when it comes to dealing with the outbreak. The unemployed youth program, Chairperson, still unclear how many graduates benefited in 25-26 and how many are going to benefit in the 26-27 financial year. So we just need them to clarify the details around there. And moreover, maybe, Chair, on this one is to understand whether the program itself has been working, because it's been around now for quite a number of years, and what are the successes of that program. The tractors planned to be procured for smallholder farmers for 2026-27, we might need to understand the overall picture there. It's the total budget that they are going to spend on the tractors, the procurement of the tractors, and which maybe areas are they focusing on in terms of the procurement of those tractors. Under ADA, Chairperson, is just to have maybe a final bite on this one, where they clarify the status of the rationalization and the shareholdership now of especially around Ntingwe, and understanding the details of the shareholdership. The revenue side, Chair, has been a problem. You would gather from that quote already that we're struggling in terms of collections and the sales of the bulk water and electricity in Makhathini, and the farmers there can't afford to pay. And again, they are estimating an increase in terms of the sales. So here it's a concern that you have a lot of farmers sitting under debtors in Makhathini because they can't pay for bulk water and electricity, or they can't afford to pay. And then you are still estimating increases in terms of the revenue collection. And the overall budget cuts, Chair, we need that on its own as well is a concern. You've got Ntingwe there that has received the budget cuts. It's going to be receiving 5.439 million for the year. So it's a bit of a concern. They have rising expenditure on the one side, and then the allocations are decreasing on the other. So it's going to be, again, a challenge. How do we improve the sales of the tea without compromising the business? Capacity concerns regarding the CAS projects. We saw in the 2025-26 financial year, Chairperson, under the adjustment estimates, the department taking back some of the allocation of CASP from ADA because of capacity issues, and implementing those projects themselves as that. So we just want to understand if they're going to increase the capacity and what are the details surrounding that challenge. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Good morning. Am I audible for the people that side? I'm audible. Okay. Good morning, Chairperson.
Yes, you're audible.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson, honorable members and colleagues. I'll be taking you through the APP. If we could just go straight, or maybe before I begin, I will just state the obvious, honorable members, that my analysis was purely based on the previous quarter's APP. In performance indicators and annual targets, as honorable members know, that the department has not come before the portfolio committee to table the APP for honorable members to make contributions, and for myself to then follow up as to whether those contributions were indeed effected into the APP by the department. I think it's a process that is still going to take place. So my analysis, when we go to program 1, sub-program 1.1, honorable members, I've created a table that will tell you what the performance indicator and annual target was in the previous financial year and where it stands in this current financial year. So for program sub-program 1.1, which is human resource management, this sub-program has 6 performance indicators in the 2026-2027 APP and had 7 in the 2025-2026 APP. One performance indicator, namely number of skills development interventions implemented, has been removed in the 2026-2027 APP. Annual targets for all 6 performance indicators have remained the same as in the 2025-2026 APP. The committee researcher notes the removed performance indicator with concern, as it is an old indicator that was removed in the 2024-2025 APP and reinstated in the 2025-2026 APP. Therefore, the committee researcher recommends the portfolio committee to inquire the department on why this specific indicator is continuously removed and reinstated. Moving on to sub-program 1.2, which is business support services. This sub-program has 4 performance indicators in the 2026-27 APP and had 4 in the 2025-26 APP. Annual targets for all 4 performance indicators have remained the same as in the 2025-2026 APP. The committee researcher notes that this sub-program has identical performance indicators and annual targets for consecutive financial years. This possibly indicates a stable administrative baseline, but also risks stagnation if the departmental context changes. Therefore, the committee researcher recommends the portfolio committee to inquire from the department reasons for having identical performance indicators and annual targets for consecutive financial years. Moving on to sub-program 1.3, which is financial management. This sub-program, honorable members, has 10 performance indicators in the 2026-27 APP and had 10 in the 25-26 APP. The annual targets for two performance indicators have been reduced, and 8 have remained the same as in the 2025-26. So the ones that have been reduced are the ones highlighted in yellow, honorable members, and the rest have remained the same. The committee researcher notes the two performance indicators with reduced annual targets and recommends a portfolio committee to inquire reasons for that reduction from the department. Moving on to Program 2, which is Agricultural Development Services, under Sub-Program 2.1, which is Sustainable Resource Use Management. This sub-program, honorable members, has 8 performance indicators in the 2026-27 APP and had 8 as well in the 2025-26 APP. The annual targets for 2 performance indicators have been increased. 3 have been reduced and 3 have remained the same as in the 2025-26 APP. The committee researcher notes the 2 performance indicators with increased targets and the 3 with reduced targets and recommends a portfolio committee to inquire the departments on reasons for these increases and reductions. Moving on to sub-program 2.2, which is Agricultural Producer Support and Development. This sub-program has 12 performance indicators in the 2026-27 APP and had 14 in the 2025-26 APP. 5 performance indicators have been removed, namely number of subsistence producers supported, number of producers supported in the red meat commodity, number of producers supported in the grain commodity, number of producers supported in the cotton commodity, and number of producers supported in the citrus commodity. There are 3 new performance indicators, namely number of producers trained on smallholder empowerment and promotion, number of producers study group supported by extension practitioners, and number of household producers supported. Annual targets for 8 performance indicators have increased and 1 has decreased. The committee researcher notes the 5 performance indicators from the 2025-26 APP that have been removed, as well as the 3 new performance indicators, and recommends a portfolio committee to inquire the department's reasons for both removed and new performance indicators. The portfolio committee must also advise the department to ensure the technical indicator descriptions are clearly defined. For instance, it must provide the nature of support for household producers and producer study groups, because, honorable members, as you can see, it says number of households producers supported, but it doesn't tell us supported with what. The committee researcher also notes the 8 performance indicators with reduced annual targets and 1 with an increased annual targets, and recommends the portfolio committee to inquire the department on reasons for these reductions and increases. Moving on to sub-program 2.3, which is veterinary services. This sub-program has 7 performance indicators in the 2026 APP, and it had 7 in the 2025-26 APP. Annual targets for 2 performance indicators have been increased and 5 have been reduced. The committee researcher notes reasons the 2 performance indicators with increased annual targets and 5 with reduced annual targets, and recommends a portfolio committee to inquire from the department on reasons for this reduction, as veterinary services, I believe, is an important sub-program, having been faced by the current national crisis of the foot and mouth disease. Moving on to sub-program 2.4, which is Research and Technology Development Services. This sub-program, honorable members, has 6 performance indicators in the 2026-2027 APP, and it had 6 in the 2025-26 APP. Annual targets for 2 performance indicators have been reduced. 1 has been increased and 3 have remained the same. Once again, honorable members, I recommended to inquire from the department's reasons for reductions and increases in annual targets for these affected performance indicators. Moving on to sub-program 2.5, which is Agricultural Economic Services. This sub-program has 5 performance indicators in the 2026-25 APP and has 5 and had 5 in the 2025-26 Annual targets for performance indicators have been reduced, and 2 have remained the same as in the 2025-26 APP. Once again, the affected annual targets, the portfolio committee is recommended to inquire from the department's reasons for these increases and reductions. Moving on to subprogram 2.6, which is agricultural education and training. This subprogram, honorable members, has 3 performance indicators in this current APP and had 3 in the previous APP. Annual targets for 2 performance indicators have been increased and 1 has remained the same. Moving to the last program of the department, which is rural developments, which has sub-programs, rural development coordination and social facilitation. This program, honorable members, in summary, has 3 performance indicators in the current APP and had the same number of performance indicators in the previous APP. However, the 3 performance indicators that are in the 2025-26 APP have been removed, and they are number of rural projects supported with mentorship, number of graduates enrolled into unemployed agricultural graduates program, and number of agricultural projects supported with social facilitation. And they have been replaced with these new performance indicators, honorable members: number of unemployed agricultural graduates, agricultural graduate youth trained, number of EPWP job opportunities reported in the EPWPRS, and number of EPWP participants trained. The committee researcher notes the 3 performance indicators that were from the 2025-26 APP that have been removed, as well as the new ones that have been introduced. These new indicators, honorable members, are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant, and they're time-bound, which means they're smart. And it is recommended that the portfolio committee inquire the departments on both the removed, the reasoning behind both the removed and the introduced performance indicators. In conclusion, honorable members, the 2026-27 APP has a total of 64 performance indicators and had 67 performance indicators in the 2025-26 APP. A total of 9 performance indicators from the 2025-26 APP were removed, and 1 from program 1, 5 from program 2, and 3 from program 3. There is a total of 6 new performance indicators in the 2026-2027 APP. 15 performance indicators have increased annual targets in the 2026-27 APP. 16 have reduced annual targets, and 27 have annual targets that remain the same as in the 2026-25 APP. Increased targets can have a positive impact on agricultural production and job creation if achieved. These are fundamentals, more especially after the effects of COVID-19, 2021 unrest, floods, FMD outbreak, and the cyclone disasters that resulted in the higher levels of food insecurity in the province, as we are still in recovery. And therefore, a need for additional supports in food production is paramount. Therefore, decreased targets have a negative effect on agricultural production and job creation, more especially if these targets are not achieved. I think that brings me to the end of the APP analysis for the department's honorable members. Okay. Okay. Moving on to the ADA. Oh, before honorable members, if you allow, before I move on to the ADA, in their APP, the department has declared this year as the Year of the Youth, and they have listed. I'll just read on my side things that they will be doing or programs that we're embarking on as a department in terms of the youth. They're saying they've declared this year as the Year of the Youth. They've put young people in the center of policy programs and interventions. They will provide bursaries, employ unemployed graduates to gain work experience, to gain work experience on farms where they will provide support, provide mentorship programs, and set aside funding for projects run by young people. The two departments, colleges, which is Sidara and Owen Sithole, will continue to render quality education. So they also said they've employed assistant extension officers, animal health technicians, and data capturers, majority of whom are young people, to aid the fight against the foot and mouth disease. So they say they've started the comprehensive vaccination in the province in districts such as Ugu, Herigwala, and Mkhanyagude, and the program is carrying on in other districts as well. So it will be, if we can, as a portfolio committee, actually follow that up in terms of also focusing on youth initiatives or youth programs by the departments as part of our priorities, as well as we do oversight over the implementation of programs by the departments in this year or financial year. That's honorable members. So I will go to the ADA. If we could just focus as well on the ADA. Let me see if I have the right. Yes, into the programs. Okay. Under program 1, which is finance and administration, the entity, this program has 11 performance indicators in the 2026 APP, 2026-27 APP, and had 10 performance indicators in the 2025-26 APP, which means there's one new performance indicator, honorable members, and it is number of corporate services strategies developed, adopted for implementation. The annual targets for all 10 performance indicators have remained the same. So all the old performance indicators, their annual targets have remained the same. The committee researcher notes the new performance indicator and identifies it as being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, but recommends the portfolio committee to inquire the entity on reasons for this new performance indicator. The portfolio committee must also inquire on reasons for having the 10 performance indicators remain the same with the same targets. There are no increases or what have you. Moving on to program 2, which is comprehensive capacity building. This program has 5 performance indicators in the 2026-27 APP, and it had 5 in the 2025-26 APP. Annual targets for 4 performance indicators have been reduced, and 1 has remained the same as in the 2025-26 APP. So it is recommended that portfolio committee inquires the entity why they have reduced annual targets for the 4 affected performance indicators. Moving on to program 3, which is enterprise and value chain development. This program, honorable members, has 7 performance indicators in the 2026-27 APP, and it had 7 in the 2025-26 APP. Annual targets for 2 performance indicators have been reduced, and 1 remained the same, and 4 have been reduced. 1 has been increased, and 4 have remained the same. So those that are affected, honorable members, once again, are the ones that are highlighted in yellow. Moving on to the 4th program, which is infrastructure development. This program, honorable members, has 4 performance indicators in the current APP, and it had the same number in the previous APP. The annual target is increased for 1 performance indicator, reduced for 1 performance indicators, and the other 2 have remained the same. So the portfolio committee may inquire the entity on these increases and reductions in terms of annual targets in these affected performance indicators. In conclusion, honorable members, the 2026-27 APP has a total of 27 performance indicators and had and had 26 in the 2025-26 APP. There is one new performance indicator in Program 1. Targets for 17 performance indicators have remained the same as in the 2025-26 APP. 2 have increased targets and 7 have reduced targets. Increased targets potentially have a positive impact on agricultural production and enhanced agricultural income if achieved, whilst reduced targets have a negative impact, especially when they are underachieved. That brings me to the end of the ADA APP, honorable members. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Ngibonga isihlalo for a presentation. I want just to start with the summary of the budget. If you go to the strategic priorities, that is page number 5, ikhuluma nge-inclusive growth and job creation. Ngiboka lapha ukuthi i-department njengamanje currently in a 2,818 employees, and to fill post up to 3,057, which means it will increase ngo 439. The question yami Chair ET, what has necessitated this job creation, bearing in mind that kunale budget cut ekhona? Enye futhi elandelayo, i-question engilayo ukuthi lama posts lawo kukhulunywa ngawo ukuthi azofilishwa ngabe asekhona na noma i-process ekhona isiqalile na? That's the only thing, Chair, I wanted to ask.
Any other member wants to raise a question? If not, then Honorable Nzama.
Thank you, Chair. I think imbuzo eminingi fanele sibuze kwi-department mesifikile, because this ama-reports aqhama la kwi-researcher, and then I'm sure she won't be able to answer the question. Kahle kahle uyasi-ama la. Uyasi-ama, uyahlomisa. So abantu first bashaye department. Thank you.
Just as a matter of clarity, Chairperson, the organogram of the department has 3,057 positions, but the ones that are filled currently is 2,018. So within this financial year 26-27, they are saying they are going to fill in the 239. It's not a realistic picture at this moment, because we know the process of employment goes through Office of the Payment and so on. However, what we are looking for, which is realistic, is for them to say which are critical out of the 239 that they want to fill for this year, and then indicate the number, and then say which are those positions. We already have an inkling because of previous years to say the HOD might be one of those criticals they might want to fill as soon as possible. The veterinary services unit, which is dealing with foot and mouth disease, has vacancies that they might want to prioritize. But we want them to be the ones that tell us which positions are they going to prioritize for the year, and how many are there out of the 239.
Chair, I have my hand raised as well. There's no audio coming through to the online platform.
Mr. Kudas, they can't hear you.
Try and use this one. Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah. What I was trying to explain is that the organogram of the organization, DART, has post up to 3,057. However, they've only got filled 2,818. And they are making an indication that for 2006, 26, 27, they are going to fill up to 3,057, which is 239 positions. Now, that's not realistic. That's not a number that we see them reaching. However, we would want them to indicate out of the 239 positions, which are critical out of that, how many are there, and how much are they going to spend in filling them for the year. So we're just looking for an indication that's going to be more realistic than just estimating an overall 239 to be filled for the year.
Thank you very much. Members, I think Honorable Nzama is correct that most of the questions will be directed to the department itself. It's a pity that they won't be presenting now. So that will mean that we'll just have to reserve our questions for the date that will be given so that we engage them on these questions that both the budget analyst and our senior researcher were pointing to us. So, which we think it will be very soon. I think Honorable Lijet, I can see you have also again raised your hand.
Thank you, Chairperson. And absolutely, I do believe a lot of the questions and queries need to be directed to the department. But I do have a question for our researcher, and it is around those vacancies, the 239 that are outstanding in terms of the organogram. And you had touched on that. Quite a few of those are in veterinary services. So I just like to know if you have the information on how many actual posts in veterinary services are vacant, and where are the other critical vacancies that actually impact on the rollout of the vaccines in our province with FMD, because that is obviously one of the top priority of the department at the moment. And so we need to understand where I would say, impediments are to that in terms of those vacancies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kutas.
I hope I'm audible. We know the ones that are obvious, which is your senior manager post positions. Those ones usually fall within the critical positions. It's currently a vacant position for the HOD. There's someone acting in that position. For veterinary services, we are unaware of the number that's vacant in there. However, constantly throughout our quarterly reports, there's an indication that there's vacancies. There's a lot of vacancies in the unit itself. So maybe it will help us also to understand how many are there, and how many do they see themselves filling for the year. But veterinary services has been a problem even in the past in filling those positions. There's a lot of issues involved, and maybe the picture that we must ask for is for them to share the numbers as to how many they want to fill within the unit, because it contributes directly to the foot and mouth disease outbreak that they are trying to cap.
No, thank you very much, Bob Kutas. honorable members, I think we have come to the end of our briefing meeting. So we're starting at 12:30. So let's check whether they can come earlier. I think they are around already. We'll convene very soon. Honorable members, can we then start our meeting? Let me greet the MEC and welcome the MEC. Good morning to honorable members. Good morning to the entire delegation from the department led by the MEC and the acting HOD, to the support staff led by the cluster manager, Babu Mdloli. I think we should start our meeting. You'll see there is a paper in front of you. It's got two agendas. We have dealt with the first agenda. We are now on the second agenda. Let me welcome all of you. I was saying to other honorable members that iwinti sibambile manje. Seqala ukuba shushu. Let me first clarify a few issues. There was a little bit of a confusion. Let me clarify that. So when we got a slot, we normally get a slot from the program committee. The slot that we got, it had 2 hours. So now when we discussed with them, the staff members, we said, no, let's deal with 2 issues on this, on the agenda. The first one is to get, a presentation on the APP as well as on the draft APP and the draft budget. The second item will be the report on the FMD. We were saying that let's get the report on that because we already have, the department has already sent us a draft report. Both our budget analysts and as well as our senior research have gone through the report. That's why this morning they were taking us through your reports as the department. So we said, so that we save time, after it's being presented, the budget has been presented by the MEC in the House. So we'll save time instead of dealing with it. The department will just represent the draft budget as well as the draft APP. If there are changes, the department was going to take us through those changes. And after that, we just simply go to voting. Because we will have dealt with that, with those 2 reports. Hence, we were saying, we thought today we were just going to present those reports because you have already given to us. We have dealt with it, in terms of analyzing them. So when there was that confusion yesterday, then the department indicating that they're ready, they can present the 4th quarter. We couldn't agree to that because the 4th quarter needed to go to our budget analyst before we deal with it as the committee. So it was going to be very difficult to deal with the 4th quarter because it will have gone through our budget analyst so that he advise us on how the department is performing. Then based on that confusion, we said no, because both we were correct and as well as the department was correct. But the budget needed to go to the House before we deal with it. But we are trying to save time. We are trying to say let's deal with it. We won't be voting on it. What will be left for us is to vote on it once it's gone to the House. So we're trying to be proactive. But I think that is now, the situation where we are in now is that we are only going to deal with one item, which is the FMD. So because of that little bit of a confusion, we thought let's clarify that we were correct and the department was also correct. But we are trying to be, proactive as the portfolio committee. We are not going to vote on it because we know we should vote on it after it's being presented to the House. We dealt with this like this when we were dealing with the portfolio committee of transport on Friday, and some of the portfolio committees are doing, been dealing with this like this, so that we save time, so that we can add other issues on when we deal with it after it's being presented in the House. So I thought, let me clarify that so that there will be no confusion. We don't want to fight with the department. We think we are working very well with the department. It's just those small technicalities that we should have discussed and come up with a amicable solution on it. Let's move on to the apologies.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings, Honorable Chairpersons, honorable members of the committee, honorable MEC, and colleagues from the department. Chairperson, the committee has received apologies, the following apologies. It is Honorable H.S. Lamini, who is not well, the committee coordinator, Mrs. Ndwalane, and Honorable Matekwane, who is replaced by Honorable Matonsela. Chairperson, I do see Honorable Sangweni. He has joined the meeting online. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Bamgosi. Any other apology? If not, let's move to the constitution of the meeting.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The legal advisor will assist, but we have about 4 honorable members that are on the virtual platform, and we have 5 honorable members that are in attendance physically, thereby making the meeting correct since the threshold is 6 members in the meeting. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
No, thank you very much, Babu Mdluli. Honorable members, let's add another item that talks to the adoption of the agenda. We have discussed with the department. The department is ready. We're also ready because we have gone through their presentation earlier on in the morning. So I'm proposing that let's amend our agenda. On item 2, we get the presentation on the APP and the budget by both the department and the entity ADA. Then item 3 will be a report on the FMD. Then item 4, discussions. 5 resolutions, then the 6 will be the closure. Can we then get a mover and a second? Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and greetings to yourselves, greetings to MEC and the department, honorable members and staff from the legislature. I move for the adoption of the agenda with their amendments.
Chair, I have my hand raised.
Thank you, Chair. Greeting Chairperson, greeting MEC, the department, the staff, honorables. I second.
Then let's move on. Then our agenda has been moved and seconded. Can we then move to the item 1.8 and get the remarks from the MEC? Thank you. MEC.
Chairperson, honorable members, senior officials from the department, I wish to take this opportunity to thank you, Chairperson, and the committee for allowing us today to come and do our presentation. Though the invitation was saying FMD, we're a bit worried, I must say, are they calling us for only FMD? Then I said to the HOD, check, what is it that they really want? Then I'm happy that now we are going to be doing everything that we were thinking also that we need to be presenting. I want to say we enjoy the support that we're getting from the department. There are times where you say, here you have to do like 1, 2, 3, but the critics that we're getting is a positive one, because whatever we differ from is something that at the end, if we look at it, something that will shape the department to the correct direction. Then we are happy that we are here. We will be giving ourselves time to make sure that we do the presentation expected. We also brief you about the FMD, because we're happy with the development in as far as FMD is concerned. Even the national government is happy with what we are doing, except here and there. But the noise about FMD is no longer a noise, but we now get positive responses from our communities. And we're doing that with the assistance and guidance that we're getting from the portfolio. And we are getting support, which is currently very positive, I must say, from all the members of the portfolio within the department. Then I will be happy that we take you through, though I'm also having another commitment. I will look at the time, because there is a public commission that is waiting for me in the office. They want certain things from the department, but I will make sure we communicate with them so that we finalize our meeting. And I've dedicated myself to today's meeting. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC, and we really appreciate that the comments and remarks from the MEC. We really appreciate the compromise that you have agreed upon, that let's deal with this item so that we in our next meeting, then we'll spend more time dealing with other issues. We thank you very much for that compromise. The MEC will indicate if she'll want to attend to the next meeting of the public commission. You'll indicate we'll really be free to excuse you if you feel you need to attend to another meeting. Let's move on, honorable members, to our next item and get the presentations. Acting Shoti, you will facilitate this because you know who will be presenting. Thank you.
Chair, the audio online has disappeared.
Okay.
I just have greeted honorable members, and I would like to stand on the protocol that has been already established.
Just hold on. Can you hear her now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You can proceed then.
Okay, thanks, Chairperson. I was wanted to also to appreciate the opportunity that we are given as a department to present the non-financial APP and the financial performance, and would like to indicate to the honorable members that all the documents were submitted in advance to the honorable members. So with us in the department, we'll have Ms. Demkize, who will take us through on the non-financial performance, and our CFO will be then taking us through to the financial performance. Ngiyabonga Sihlalo. Thank you.
Greetings to the Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, Honorable MEC, and all the colleagues in the department. Honorable Chair, I will be taking the committee through the annual performance plan of the department. We are then going to, we are indicating that to the committee that the department is guided by the sector indicators for program 2, which is agriculture. And we are giving a list of all of the programs that are there. And then we are also in the next slide indicating that overall we've got about 68 indicators in this year's APP. 21 indicators are coming from administration. 40 indicators are coming from agriculture development services, which is our core program. And then there's about 7 indicators coming from rural development. If we can move to the next slide, Mr. Nkosi, where we are looking at corporate services. So for corporate services, honorable members, we have not really changed much in terms of the indicators that we are having in the APP for HRM. So we are still going to look at the vacancy rate in the department. We are also looking at the SMS members' disclosures, which we are finalizing right now in terms of the DPSA processes. We are also looking at the percentage of our non-SMS employees who are compliant with the financial disclosure submission. And then we are also looking at ensuring that we fulfill our EPMDS obligations, where senior managers and also all other levels of employees, they undertake and sign performance agreements. And we also ensure that we conclude the assessment of performance. In the next slide, we then talk about the percentage of decisions that are compliant with PAJA Act. We are also talking about capacity building initiatives for contract compliance, ICT business cases approved for implementation, and integrated policy workshops to be conducted in the department. And then that takes us to financial management. And I think for financial management, we are also still talking about the procurement plan of the department, the infrastructure program management plan. We're also looking at a percentage of valid supplier invoices paid within 30 days. We are also looking at in-year monitoring reports submitted to oversight structures. We are supposed to submit 12 reports. We're talking about strategic risk register of the department being approved. And then we also conduct reviews on our asset register, the contract register. And then we also measure ourselves on the overall achievement of the departmental budget expenditure. And then we also report on the investigations conducted on fruitless, unauthorized, and irregular expenditure. And we are still committing to receive an unqualified AG audit outcome. Then that takes us to program 2, which I indicated is agriculture development services. Within this program, we are having sustainable resource use. We're having agriculture producer support and development. We're having veterinary services. We have research and technology development services. We have agricultural economic services, and then we have structured agricultural education and training. So this is where we are going to have indicators. We're starting with sustainable resource use. The first indicator is the number of subdivision of Agricultural Land Act applications to change the land use submitted to the department within 30 days. Target is 200. Farm management plans approved. Target is 8. Agro-ecosystem management plans developed. We're looking at 1 plan there. Number of awareness campaigns on disaster risk reduction conducted. It is 4. Number of assessments on uptake for early warning information conducted. It is 1. So the indicators I've just reported on, they are for our agricultural disaster risk management program. And then number of hectares of agricultural land rehabilitated. The target is 3,600. On the number of people employed in green jobs, the target is 350. Number of hectares of cultivated land under conservation agriculture practices, the target is 900. We're moving to agriculture producer support, which is the program led by Mr. Jongisa, and this is where the extension program, the food security interventions, and all of agricultural support for farmers is located. We're starting with the extension indicators. If I can just explain to the members, the first 2 indicators are new because this is where the sector is now going. So these ones are sector indicators for all departments of agriculture across the country. The first one is the number of producers trained on smallholder empowerment and promotion, which the extension colleagues call it SHEP. The target there is 241. The next one is the number of producer study groups supported by extension practitioners. The target here is 57. And then we have a number of household producers supported. The target here is 9,425. And this one is earmarked for our impoverished household in terms of food security support. We look at number of producers with disability supported by the department. The target here is 32. Number of youth farmer projects supported by the department. The target is 63. Number of female farmer projects supported by the department. The target is 149. And then we move to smallholder producers supported. The target is 364. Number of commercial producers supported. The target is 18. Number of agricultural job opportunities created through departmental interventions. The target is 114. So these are the jobs where, as a department, where we have projects that we are supporting. So we are reporting those jobs. Number of infrastructure, agricultural infrastructure established. The target is 26. Number of agricultural infrastructure rehabilitated by the department. The target is 22. And then on hectares planted for food production through departmental support, the target is 7,000. This is also where the mechanization program is being reported. Then we move to veterinary services. For veterinary services, there is not much change that has really happened in terms of their indicators. So we start with the first one, number of visits conducted to epidemiological units for veterinary interventions. The target there is 11,355. So the current interventions that we are doing in terms of the FMD would be reported under that particular indicator. Number of veterinary export certificates issued, the target is 2,360. Number of Performing Animal Protection Act, which is PAPA registration licenses issued, the target is 39. So for that indicator, we are basically reporting on ensuring that animals that are used for performance in these shows that people host, they are properly registered. Number of animals vaccinated against rabies, it's 151,156. Number of inspections conducted on facilities producing and handling meat, the target is 900. Number of veterinary laboratory tests performed according to approved national standards, the target is 65,000. A number of samples collected for targeted animal disease surveillance, which includes, amongst others, the FMD. The target there is 8,655. We then move to agriculture research and development, where we are now reporting the research work that we are doing as a department. We are targeting at least 2 scientific papers to be published, and then the research presentations to be made at peer review events, as well as research presentations made at technology transfer events. And we have 6 research stations, which is what we are reporting under that research infrastructure managed, and then number of agricultural research projects implemented. So all of the research work that is done is reported there under that 56. And then we are targeting at least 1 new technologies to be developed for the smallholder producers. Agricultural economics, number of agribusinesses supported with marketing services, the target is 40. Number of clients supported with production economic services, it's 150. Number of economic reports compiled, it's 4. Number of clients supported with agro-processing initiatives is 40. And the number of clients supported with agricultural Black economic empowerment advisory services is 20. For training and education, number of students who have completed an agricultural qualification, the target is 90. Number of participants trained in skills development programs in the sector is 1,760. And career awareness activities implemented to promote agriculture is 125. Then we move to our last program, which is program 3, rural development. Within rural development, we are reporting a number of unemployed agricultural graduate youth trained. The target is 120. A number of EPWP job opportunities reported. The target is 1,470. And then on the EPWP participants trained, we are targeting 600. This then takes us to the end of our APP presentation, Chair. And we are just concluding by indicating that in the department, there's a directorate called Integrated Planning, Policy Monitoring and Evaluation, which coordinates our quarterly reports. And this is where the reports go up to the level of the executive management, the HOD and the MEC. And the same reports are also submitted to the portfolio committee, the Office of the Premier, the National Department of Agriculture, and DPME, which we report on quarterly basis. And we are introducing Survey 123 as our performance reporting tool. This has started from the 1st of April this year. At the end of the financial year, we then prepare an annual report, which is audited by the Office of the Auditor General, and it is tabled to this Augusta House in the provincial legislature and the provincial treasury. And we are now going to be preparing the annual report for submission to the AG by the 31st of May. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and honorable members.
Good morning to the honorable members. I will take the honorable members through the budget presentation, which is for 26-27 for vote 3. Would like to also utilize the protocol already established. In terms of the sources of funding, particularly from the last time we presented to the committee, we've had the equitable share, where we've been allocated an additional 14.256 million, which is to cater for the early retirement process. Then we've also implemented budget cuts for 27-28 for the, which is a cut of 13.3 million. I'm now on slide 3. And then in 28-29, the cut is of 14.6 million. These cuts are to our conditional grants in our respective equitable share outer years. In terms of conditional grants, Silima Letsima, it's now included as part of UCASP, which also then saw a cut, particularly in 26-27 under the pillar for college infrastructure, and a slight increase then in terms of the infrastructure pillar. We also have an allocation for EPWP at 4.759 million and 2.5 million in terms of the incentive, that's the incentive grant. And then we have 2.5 cut on UCASP itself. And the baseline then has increased for UCASP by 8.7 million and LENCAP by 323. If we move to the next slide 4, it then depicts our sources of funding for the 26-27 financial year, which sees the combination of our equitable share being a growth of 5.3% and conditional grants then reducing by 17.
Yes, sorry, CFO. Members are indicating that they don't have the report. Can you share the report with the members? Okay, let me clarify. We got the original budget. Now it's the presentation that they don't have. Okay. Yeah, because our analysis was based on the report that we got. Okay. Sweet Melin, thank you. You can continue. My members are spending a little bit, so it's all that.
Okay, thank you. Equitable share then is increasing by 5.3% from 25-26 financial year, and then the conditional grants are reducing by 17.4%. In the main, it's the allocation for the AgriHubs BFI. You will note, Chair and honorable members, that in the year of 26-27, that funding is not then included as part of a baseline. This then takes the budget to 2.818 billion for the department, which translates to a 2.2% increase from the allocation of 25-26. The outer years are then being tabled as they are. In terms of the other projected growth, which we will see in terms of equitable share, it's for the COE, which is around then the 5.8%, which then particularly indicates that I'm now on slide 5, which shows that then our baseline is being eroded by the change in terms of compensation of employees. In terms of the conditional grant, I've touched on the decrease then being impacted on by the BFI change, as well as the once-off cut that has been implemented by National on the infrastructure pillar for the colleges. And this is the funding which has been rerouted towards the blended finance from a national point. We'll move to slide 6. In terms of our own revenue, we are then projecting to collect 21.152 million, which is a reduction of 20.7% from our current 25-26 allocation. I'm on slide 6. And this cut has been mainly due to the line item of labs for veterinary services, including sale of capital assets. One of the other key issues is then that in your the outer years are then at grow with 4.5 and 5.3%. In terms of our decrease, mainly then aligning that adjustment has been done to cater for that. According to the programs, Program 1 is then having a budget of 791.5 million. Program 2, 1.983 billion. Program 3 then is at 42.7 million, which is then the breakdown in terms of the 26-27 year. 27-28 then is an increase of 3.2 in terms of the expenditure, and the outer year 28-29 it's 3.1. The low growth is then indicated as part of the baseline increases, but in terms of Program 1, we've also increased it by, I'm on slide 9. It's mainly the increase due to security services as well as the ICT support after the conclusion of tender processes. Program 2 particularly then shows an inflationary linked increase despite the cut of the conditional grant, and lab equipment that we also then see in the 25-26 and 26-27. Program 3, the decrease in the main, I'm on slide 9, is because of the BFI allocation. Honorable members, if you can move to slide 10, it then shows the economic classification of the allocation, where we can see that COE is 1.392 billion, and goods and services has 920 million, which is a 6% growth. And our transfers then also are sitting at 299.4 million, with our transfer then to ADA being depicted in the slide or line item for agencies funds, which is going to be an allocation of 190.4 million. And public corporations, which we have reflected on here at 79.5, it's the transfers that we are doing for entities for directly implemented projects, and then household transfers at 27.2 million. Payment for capital assets then sitting at 206.3 million, with building and other fixed structures and machinery and biological assets then there. This is then 2.18 billion for 26-27 being depicted according to those line items. On the next allocation then, or the next slide rather, it provides the increases in terms of the narrative and what changes that have been made. On slide 11, but we then look at the exit strategy, which we have, which shows that the prioritization of COE in terms of the completed items and bids, the performance verification process and system, unemployed graduate exit strategy, which then amounts to 24 million. And then we've also got the process at the time, the completion of the planning phase, that we've put the funding under goods and services. But once those projects are then firmed up, those then will be allocated accordingly. There's then the low growth as well. I'm now on slide 12. In terms of transfers and subsidies, our allocation to ADA is reflected, including the budget that is providing for the completion of projects that are already started and being implemented under our CASP. Transfers then to household reflects on the early retirement process and program, and that is currently then at 14.2 million. Chair, I'll move to slide 13, just reflecting mainly then on conditional grants. This is then the reduction overall for CASP is at 18.6, and we look at land care and EPWP increasing at 8.2. I'm on slide 13. The outer years then are reflecting an increase of 9.8 and 3.3 as well in terms of the 28-29 year. Chair, just want to reflect that at the stage or time of tabling, the NAP assessment have not concluded and finalized the business plan, which then does have an impact in terms of our disclosures. But we're anticipating that that will also be concluded before the end of this quarter. The department then draft plan for UCASP as we have it. I'm on slide 15. It shows that we've allocated in terms of the food security and mechanization program, the allocations according to the respective districts, which is then the split of the 48.6 million in this respective pillar, with the outer years increasing to 51.1 and 52.7 million. On slide 16, we are then reflecting the business plan as it currently stands for the irrigation projects that we are going to be implementing, which are at 26.2 million, 21.9 in the outer year, and 22.6 for the 28-29. The schemes that are being rehabilitated, it's Makatini, Pumelele, clearing of the canal itself, Block 6A, continuation of the maintenance plans, including the subsurface drainage as well as the Tukela ferry. At this stage, these are the ones that we have then presented. Chair, I'll move to slide 17. Slide 17 then shows the vet capacitation plan and some of the programs that are looking at KYD program, looking at then the continuation of some of those programs for directly funded project, including the initiatives that are from ADA, as well as the directly funded projects that are still to be implemented. For CASP infrastructure projects, we've got the training elements at 5 million, including the unemployed graduate training, the mentorship program, as well as the unemployed graduate program, the 120 continuing, which then has then the pillar for training at 24 million. This then is the CASP infrastructure then that sums up to 228.8 million, 243.3 and 251.2 for the respective outer years. If we move to the pillar of extension and recovery, which is on the next slide, we then have 61.8 million, particularly having the visibility and accountability at 1.5 million, improved in image and professionalism at 2.5, and the recruitment drive in terms of the AAPs at 52 million, the reskilling and reorientation 1.5. We've got 4.1 then, which is for the ICT infrastructure, cellular cell phones and airtime 3.8 as part of the tools, which is the breakdown of the 61.8 million. For the revitalization of the colleges, then the cut that I've already explained earlier on leaves then the 3 million for Oscar, 21 million and 22.1 in terms of the outer years. Chairperson, in terms of veterinary services as well as research, this is the split in terms of service delivery for the respective programs. Then that also indicates how much we will be spending for medicines as well as farming supplies. This is, of course, still excluding any additional allocations, but just based on what we have in the baseline. Then from research and technology development, we've got in terms of the farms, the labs, seed multiplication, as well as new machinery that we've then budgeted. This is then the equivalent of 320 and 34.8 million. These on the next slide, then showing the projects which we'll be implementing. We have 83 million, particularly looking at communal infrastructure, food security interventions for the programs of household, as well as one home, one garden, and one fruit tree, commodity association support, as we are dealing with the diversification as well. In 2026, then the allocation is that we are going to focus on deep tanks, particularly the community infrastructure, also from the engagements that have been held, we've budgeted then the 24.5 million then that is going to look for this particular program. Smallholder farmers, particularly the call for funding, then has 33.4 million, which also includes food security interventions in that particular area. The sugar industry is still then receiving support from the department of 25 million, particularly that is what we've set aside in 26-27. Most of the allocation and process and rationale which has been utilized has been from the Human Science Research Council, particularly providing for the number of indicators where we've utilized the household food insecurity with the 3 categories, primarily focusing then on food insecure for mild and moderate in terms of the allocations which have then been made. And this is then the budget of 33.4 million, which has then been allocated as slide 21. You can move to the next slide. Slide 21 then shows that we are then looking to allocate to the respective districts based on those percentage share in terms of the implementation, which then looks at the allocation for that particular process. We've got then 7 million, which we've allocated to supporting emerging farmers. Particularly, this is our exit strategy for the graduates. That's on slide 22. And it's 7 million for 26-27, 7.3 in the outer years, and 7.6 for 28-29. In terms of the transfer to other entities on slide 23, it then shows that we've got the 266.4 million, which looks at the allocations which we are doing to UADA, as well as the SA Sugar Research Institute at 3.8 and 75 million that's going to the transfer of directly funded projects. Chairperson and committee members, one of the key changes then that we would like is to present on infrastructure, which is on slide 25. In infrastructure, we then have the leases that the department has, including capital transfer and maintenance plans for the department, and also showing our balance of the new and replaced infrastructure, including the upgrades and additions, which we're going to be making in the 26-27 financial year. 206.894 million is the breakdown of that. And these then are varying in terms of the projects, which we then have provided a breakdown of from the next slide. If you can move to the next slide. We are looking at establishing of offices across in terms of the key offices and our presence as the department, particularly a finalization of our Paul Petersburg and Nkandla office, which are continuation projects, but as well as some of the warehouse, as well as the Durban office and some of the projects in Mushroom Base, which we've reflected today. In slide 27, we are then also continuing to reflect on completing the abattoir, including the pumps, which we have already reflected as part of the rehabilitation and irrigation projects that are funded. We've got other irrigation in Utugela and others, which basically is then the breakdown. If you can move to the next slide. Also showing then on slide 28, showing some of the other projects, particularly the dairy project in Sedara, and looking at other projects like the canteen as well as our Kokstad office. Chair, this is really the crux of the details within the budget. There are then additional slides which are looking at a sub-program level, but the summary itself has then been presented. And for then the committee requesting that they note and support the final 26-27 MTF budget. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Chair, honorable members, we are presenting the two presentation as has been tabled, which is the non-performance and the financial performance of the department. However, Honorable Chair would want to present to the Honorable Chair and the Honorable members that there has been an erroneous concurrence a report or a letter that would want to submit to the portfolio committee. That's follow the review that has been undertaken by the audit that they have observed a erroneous change on our standard indicator, which we're talking to just few words that were changed, and they recommended that we return back to our standard indicator. However, those changes does not change the budget, and it does not also change POE, performance in evidence of performance. We have a report or a letter that we have prepared to be tabled to chairperson and portfolio members. It's only one indicator which talks to infrastructure rehabilitated. So the naming of the infrastructure rehabilitated was then, it is the number of agribusiness supported with Black economic empowerment, which is the standard indicator. And the change on that was number of agribusiness supported with Black economic. So the only thing that was changed was now the beneficiary instead of the number of the agribusiness project supported. So we'd want to present that to the Honorable Chair and the Honorable members so that by the time we submit the report, that area was already there on the APP for 26-27. And we now submit so that when the portfolio approves, know that we will also make an amendment to change only that indicator. However, the allocation of budget and the POE and the means of verification, they have got no changes. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Acting HOD. Honorable members, we deal with UADA when we are finalizing the APP and the budget. Maybe on what you are presenting now, Acting HOD. So again, when we are retabling the budget after we have gone through the process of sitting, you will take us through the additions that you are, or on the changes that you are presenting. Let's just now focus on what you have presented thus far. So, honorable members, can we then engage with the both the APP and the draft APP and the budget of the department? Honorable Mazibuko.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings to yourself, MEC, HOD, officials of the department, and honorable members. I would like to engage on the APP in Program 1, under Sub-Program 1.1, where in human resource management, where there is a performance indicator that has been removed that indicator is a number of skill development intervention implemented for 2026-2027 financial year. This program has been, this indicator has been in and out. It's continuously been removed from the APP. And I would like to find the reason why it's been removed, reinstated every time. It's not the indicator that has always been there. Iyakhishwa, iyafakwa, ngicela ukwazi nje ukuthi what's the reason for it to be removed and being reinstated. And again, ngicela ukubuza futhi ukuthi as it's been removed, the skill development, akubalulekile yini ukuthi akube khona i-development yama-skills. If isikhishiwe, how are you going to track it as this indicator has been removed now? Ngiyabonga.
Chair, we don't hear you online.
Okay, I was saying let's take you, Honorable Ngati. You will be followed by Honorable Legit.
Thanks, Chair. I've got two questions so far. The first is more of a compliment, which is rare for me, but I do give them when they are deserved. And that's the report around the fact that the department managed to achieve last year 100% of its invoice payments that were valid within 30 days. And I think that's important, Chair, that we value the contributions that service providers have in ensuring that we are able to deliver basic services to our people, and that when they do enter into agreements with the department, that those agreements are honored timelessly, because we know the impact that that has on the economy and the ability, particularly for emerging agribusiness practitioners, to then continue, growing their businesses. So I think that's commendable from the side of the department. My sort of clarity-seeking question is particularly around the issue of FMD and how it is represented in terms of, budget output. Here, I didn't really get that in the presentation. I don't know if I'm being forward, but maybe it's just a breakdown on how much money the department has earmarked for FMD intervention. There was also the issue of EPWP. I think they're going to be field workers. Has that now found expression in the new budget, looking at the fact that we still are within the crisis range of FMD? And I think it's important that if we are going to sort of approve a budget, that it speaks to the current crisis within agriculture in our province and what kind of intervention methods that are matched by budget that we can see represented in the presentation. I may have missed that. I am looking for it, but I don't see it clearly explained so far. So just clarity on that from my side. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ngati. Let's go to Honorable Legit.
Good morning again, Chair, and good morning to the department and the MEC and colleagues online and in the House. I have quite a few questions, if you could please bear with me. So I'd like to know, in terms of the vacancies in the department, how many of these are critical vacancies, and how many of these are critical vacancies that relate to the rollout of the FMD vaccine and the management of the foot and mouth disease crisis in the province? Because I think, of course, that is one of the department's top priorities. And I just want to know is this an impediment to the department's ability to address the crisis, and to what extent? Then also, when will the vacant HOD post be filled? Because I understand it's an acting post at the moment. And then I have also questions around the seeds that are meant to support 4,600 hectares. Will these also go to support smallholder farms as well? And how many of those? Then with regard to FMD, what is the status per district at the moment? And what is our progress in terms of like the biosecurity protocols? So with the movement of animals from district to district, etc. I also see that there has been a drop in the infrastructure budget. So how is this going to affect the existing projects? If that could just be outlined. And then in terms of the unemployed graduates program, how many graduates actually benefited and how many will benefit in this upcoming year? And then in Tingwe Tea, I mean, this entity has always been, I think, quite worrisome in terms of its long-term financial feasibility. And I know that there were efforts to make sure that Intingwe could roll over profit and become more self-sustainable, and that was in the offing. Has there been any improvement in Intingwe's profitability and in its ability to actually rack up revenue from sales? Or is it in exactly the same position as it was in our last, I think, report on the entity? And I think that's important to see if the dial has moved at all in terms of the entity. That's all. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much, honorable members. I think those are the questions from the honorable members thus far. I don't know, acting HOD.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the progressive questions that we received from the honorable members. Chairperson, I will start by saying with the one that talked to the FMD, I will propose through honorable members that we respond after the presentation has been tabled. We request that we respond on the issue of the question that has been raised, which are related to the two presentations that we've already tabled. I will add after I have given to the official that has presented, then I will wrap up in terms of the high level of the response that is required. So for the questions, I will give it to Mr. Mkhize and to CFO. Then I will wrap up, Chair.
Okay, thank you, HOD, and to the honorable members. I think I will address two questions. The first question, which I believe is from Honorable Mazibuko, on the skills development interventions implemented. In terms of our thinking when we are preparing the APP for the department, we try to look at which indicators are strategic and which ones are becoming more operational. And in our assessment, we felt that the skills development interventions indicator was more of an operational issue, because that is where, as a department, we are just reporting on the number of employees we have trained, and also it's usually capacity building initiatives like your internships. So we are still reporting on that internally within the department. It's part of our operational plan for the human resource management. But we felt that at an APP level, we are trying to reduce the number of indicators for the support program, which is corporate services, and focus more on the core, which is the program 2 and program 3. So that is the thinking on that one. And then there was a question around how many unemployed graduates have benefited. Last year, the department appointed 135 unemployed graduates. They are with the department for a 2-year cycle. So that's the response with respect to that. I think on the, I think for now, that's probably it from my side, HOD. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. I think for the ones that I will deal with, it's with regards to the drop in infrastructure budget. I did indicate that in 26-27, it's the first year after we've been receiving the BFI funding for agri-hubs. So that drop is translating from no longer having that specific allocation for that particular project, which if I can just compare, it was 58 million in the 25-26 financial year. So a change of that effect will then have an impact on the actual infrastructure project, but it is then linked to just that one project. The projects then we implement from infrastructure, it's based on our planning and the project stage. So once we have projects that are then able to be in to exit planning and reach actual construction, we are then implementing those in line. Kabazela has, I think, touched on the graduate and that we generally plan for the 120 in terms of the allocation. The budget which we've presented is based on the baseline, honorable members, from what we normally deal with. So it does cater for veterinary services to the extent of things being normal, but it then doesn't cater for the disaster that has been declared. That is then going to follow a separate process of additional funding application processes, although there are certain contingencies which the HOD will speak to. In as far as the budget for the entity, we did indicate how much is going to ADA. And with respect to Tuntingwe, I think HOD will also then touch on that as an entity. We do acknowledge, I think, the compliment when it comes to the payment of 30 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. In summary to what the colleagues have highlighted, we confirm 134 as the graduate that has been trained under a program of unemployed graduate, and our annual intake is 120. So that comes after 2 years. So we normally project the 120 cohort. And then with the issue of skill development, we still conduct skill development, but solely it is now prioritized for AMA farmers to be trained on their technical production activities of the agriculture. So that is done through our college. We have a ASD wing which is dealing with that, and there is a budget that is allocated to that. So in terms of the reporting, you will see under UAPP that we have that skill development under colleges. With regard to infrastructure, CFO have covered it well, and the budget that is allocated to AgriHub and BFMI allocation. Chair, with regard to also to our entity, it was indicated on the budget how much is going to be allocated to ADA and in Tingwe. However, since we are going to have them presenting their APP, I will then propose to honorable members that we then engage with those specific indicators when we are tabling the budget for UATA. But then Intingwe has got some issues with regard to the money that is still locked under Itala, and we are working on that. There has been a progress. We have written to Itala, and there is an intervention which now going to be done to release that finances so that Intingwe will be operational. And again, we are looking at Intingwe to become liquidated so that it will operate as a co-op, so that it does not have all these compliance that is attached to it as now being recognized as an entity. So once all that is, finalized, we will come and report to the honorable members and through Chairperson. So I will just end there, Honorable Chair, with a note that for FMD questions, we will then table the presentation and then report on the respond after the presentation has been tabled. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Acting HOT. Let's allow the MEC to attend to her next meeting. She indicated earlier on that then we agreed that we'll release her if certificates with IACON. Honorable members, let's then move to our next item, which is and get a report from. Let's start by noting the presentation, the APP, draft APP, and draft budget. We'll be finalizing it after the processes have been dealt with, after it has been presented. When the budget has been presented to the legislature and referred to us as committees. You have made our job to be very easy because we'll deal with the voting there so that we approve both the APP and the budget. So then let's move to our next agenda item and get a report on the FMD. HOD.
Honorable members, will be tabling the FMD report through Dr. Skakane. Maybe as my introduction to that report is that Honorable MEC, Honorable members and Chairperson, we want to report earlier that we started as early as February, and we started at Okwini and at Herikwala. The reason for us to start there, it was because of the vaccination strength, which was serotype 1, and based on our analysis, the serotype 1 was then suitable for Herikwala, which then called us to go to Herikwala first. And then after we have received the serotype 1, 2, 3, then we went to other districts as we are continuously reporting. And with that, we had already pulled the team from all other districts to respond to the mass vaccination. And that, Honorable Chair, it has called us to incur some amount of finance for accommodation, traveling, and overtime. It was before we receive a disaster alignment in terms of how much was allocated to the provinces. So as we are going to 1st of May, now we are going to be vaccinating through all the provinces, whereby all the officials will be now traveling from where they are allocated and then go and vaccinate and reduce the cost for accommodation, the cost for overtime, and the cost for other traveling and so on and so on. Which is because now we are expecting the cohort of 64 HT by the end of this month and first week of May. So currently that is where we stand. And I would like also to declare to the honorable members that all what we are presenting, we are aligned as a department to the declaration of the disaster, and we are aligned to what has been allocated by the disaster. Where there will be deviation in terms of disaster regulation and alignment, we will be writing a report and submit it back so for EE approval. But as it stands, the department has done its own intervention with the budget that we have. So Dr. Skakane will be then taking us through all the technicalities on the ground on how we have progressed in terms of capping the FMD. Thank you.
Thank you, HOD, Honorable Chair, members of the House, my HOD, and colleagues that we have here. Good morning. Mine is simple. It's the presentation of the progress on foot and mouth so far since we started with the intervention post declaration of disaster. As you can see on the board, there is an outline of our presentation, which outlines the mandate, the operational objectives, and vaccination rollout and financial implications, which the CFO has dealt with, and what are the latest development and control measures, and what we recommend going forward. Next slide, please. The presentation is made to appraise the portfolio committee on the progress of the vaccination campaign and the strategic direction that it's taking. So, as members of the House are aware that we have recently started a mass vaccination program in case attempt to get rid of the current outbreak of foot and mouth, which initially was located at one area. This is part of the 10-year strategy that was set out by the ministerial task team of the national government. So KwaZulu-Natal is embarked on a mass drive to vaccinate. We are praying for 100%, but according to the strategy, we can 80 to 100% of the animals should be vaccinated for the herd immunity. So we intend to push as far as we can, and we're estimating that the population of the cattle in the province is 2 million, between 2.5 million and 3 million. And post that, we would then give a booster after 6 months, depending on the type of vaccine used. Next slide, please. We are facing a outbreak that has never happened before in this country. In KZN, we used to deal with this issue every 10 years, 2001, 2011. When it came back to 2021, it became what it is now, a national crisis. So there is a comparative strategy. If you can go back a slide, please. Slide before, thank you. There is a comparative strategy that looks at now eliminating the problem, keeping in mind that almost all provinces except 2 have proven to have positive animals. But KwaZulu-Natal is the only one that has said the whole province infected because of the current situation. So we've deployed quite an extensive surveillance system where we get back information from the communities, from the commercial farmers. We try and support our farmers in terms of them being able to sell the livestock that they have in a controlled manner. But then we would then now look back after we've done this and the situation is stabilized to try and create zones again of the management. Because if you remember, this problem is not going away. We've got positive buffaloes in some of the game reserves. we need to manage them post this. Next slide, please. So what we are saying, 26 to 28, it's we vaccinate intensively to stabilize things, and do surveillance. 28 to 32, we then start creating the buffer zones after we know that the main source of the problem will be the buffaloes that have seroconverted to positivity. We'll try and establish the buffer zones around them, which will need to be vaccinated for life. Now, post that 2032 to 2034, we will then just be mainly running a surveillance and looking at the evidence if it is spreading or not. But we should not be having a problem by then. And I think we'll be far ahead of that one. And at some point in the near future, areas that don't have buffaloes as a source of infection should be free from the disease, and we should be able to go back to normal to a certain extent. Next slide. We want to reduce the incidence of the disease by 70% throughout the province. This can be done if we vaccinate more than 80% of the head of the province, which are well on our way to do it based on our census and the figures that we're getting from the communities that we vaccinate and commercial farmers. So it is achievable. So it's a very integrated approach where we work with our communal farmers, organized agriculture commodity associations to cover the whole head of the province. So yes, next slide, please. Foot and mouth, if you look at the Animal Disease Control Act of 1984, it is the first disease. If you look at that list, it's disease number one for the government in terms of disease control. So it remains a state responsibility to control the disease fully. Before this, we didn't, even now, we do not allow at any point unregulated vaccinations. So even if you can get a vaccine, you can't do it without us knowing or authorizing you to do that, which is why the vaccine is only sourced by the state and only provided by the state currently. You can't buy the vaccine at the shop. It's not possible. And then there is a tracking system that mainly is developed by government, but it mainly it covers your communal farmers. So far, we do not have commercial farmers that belong to this system. They've got their own systems that they use. The owner of the next slide, please. The owner of the animal is legally obliged to present animals when we bring them in for vaccination. So law does oblige animals, owners of the animals, to present this, and this will also be covered when we're dealing with the movement control at the end of the day, because we are going to a situation where it will be impossible for anybody to move their animals or to sell or buy if they're not vaccinated or they're not in the register of government of vaccinated animals. So we're going towards that direction where people then must work with us in vaccinating the animals because the vaccine is available. So for a person to own animals and neglect this aspect of it, of presenting animals for vaccination, it's a chargeable offense, but we try to and stay away from that. But it's part of the responsibility of the owners. Next slide. So we have set up internally committees that looked at vaccination, traceability system, and then the movement of animals. How do we improve on that? But those are internal structures that look at this, and then we then advise national and the ministerial task team on what is pertinent in KwaZulu-Natal and what would be the best mechanism to manage the situation in KwaZulu-Natal, as we're the one that understand the dynamics. So we work initially we had prioritized the dairy industry because of the impact of the disease on the head when it goes in, because and some of the animals is very, very painful. They get shot because of the symptoms, the way they manifest themselves. Up to a point that we are almost finished with the whole dairy head of the province in terms of vaccination, so that we can then have a herd immunity and those animals are protected. So our goal is to vaccinate 100% of the herd. We started on 26th of February to vaccinate in Herekuala. The Honorable HOD has indicated why. It's because when we received the vaccine, it had serotypes that are aligned to that area. So we focused there so that we could get the maximum efficacy of the vaccine. Next slide. For our communal farmers, we've got a very robust system that has proven to be very effective of communicating with our communal farmers. Our communal farmers are very well organized. We've a structure that has been existing for more than 15, 20 years. That has proven to be a very good tool to continue engaging them and when we render the services. So this has proven it's a legacy system, and we'll continue to make it prosper because it works for us. Next slide, please. Those are some of the posters that are released on occasion. As you can see, we're outlining the dates of vaccination when we're communicating with the communities. Those dates, I must say, we're going to see a slide here. They're not cast in stone because there are other factors that must be taken into consideration when we're going to start a campaign, wherever we're going to start the campaign. Maybe what I want to highlight on this, as you can see, next slide, please. As you can see there in the map, at the bottom of the province, we've covered the whole of Herekuala district and Uku district. So we're done with them, except for a few pockets of I don't want to call them L-right farms, a few pockets of beef farms that we were trying to finalize so that we know what done, because we're working in blocks. We work in this district, we finalize it, and then we move to the next district, we finalize it. We've also, the Aftol or the biogenesis is a type of vaccine. The national government imports two types of vaccines, one from Turkey, another one from Argentina. They have been assessed by the scientific team that sits on the ministerial task team. Let me also highlight because that we've also vaccinated the whole of Mkhanyawood district, and we finalize it. We are currently in Zululand. As you can see on the next slide, in Zululand, we've up to Thursday last week, we vaccinated 21,000 animals in Etumbe local municipality and Pongola local municipality. If I'm not mistaken, today we started today. We started yesterday about Kolisi local municipality, which is on its own, it's got 121 dipping tanks. That's quite massive. We are hoping to push it within a week. Then we move on to Nongoma and Ulundi local municipalities. The total of 1,120,000 doses have been issued to the province. 560,000 of those doses have been used by the State Veterinary Office of the province, mainly to cover the Black indigenous communities, the Black people, the community set up in all of this district. What we've done, we've made available to organized agriculture, that is the private sector. We're working mainly with two structures here, which is basically your meat producer organization of the province and the red meat producer organizations. So we've also made vaccine available to them, through them to get private vets to vaccinate for their clients, so that we cannot delay the process of vaccination for the commercial farmers. So the two things run parallel. So that we'll then, because I must remind the House that the target is actually finishing the whole province, the whole 2.5 million head of cattle within 6 months. So we want to have the process running parallel. So far, then what we do, then we don't just only release the vaccine. We release the vaccine, we want the data back. We want the exact animals that we vaccinated in a farm. So if they come to a farm and they vaccinate the farm, we want those ear tag numbers of the cattle that we vaccinated. Because that would then mean that when our system is properly set up, if that animal is moved on the road, we should be able to trace it back to that farm, whether it was vaccinated or not. It goes back to the whole concept of farmers need to vaccinate the animals so that they can be able to trade with them or make a living out of them. So we're quickly going towards that direction. So there has been also an additional 360,000 doses that we've received from the national office, for which the 100,000 went to the Milk Producer Organization, which we hope and agreed upon that they should finalize every dairy animal in the province. They haven't come back to us with the data, but based on the database we have, they said with that 100,000 should be done with the dairy head of the province, which would then create herd immunity. Then we also now are strongly working with the Red Meat Producer Organization, which is mainly your beef farmers, for which on the last batch we gave them 75,000 doses. Also, they will bring back the data to us so that it then goes onto our database. Then we issued for the feedlots, commercial guys, the big guys, we issued 5,000 for current beef, 5,000 for LTA, which is Treshler feedlot in Winterton. So the 180,000 that we had left is now being used heavily in Zululand. We're hoping to receive a tranche early this week to augment and finish up the Zululand project. Because we have to remember, in Zululand, we've got more than close to 400,000 animals within a district. We then, maybe that outlines the next slide. Oh, mine is different color. Can you go back a slide, please? Yeah. That outlines the type of animals that have been vaccinated and the numbers within those animals that have been vaccinated, as you can see. And this is backed by our database of these animals that we've covered. As I was indicating that we, before last week, we issued 100,000 with over 226,000 dairy cattle vaccinated. We've added 100,000 on top of that. So, and then there's beef communal head, which is black. Communal head is the Amatip Tank Saban Bagate. And then there's mixed commercial and others. We remember when we maybe clarify this, when we talk about the dairy head, we are fully cognizant that some of these dairy farms have what we call labor tenants in them. So when we get a farm census that they've got so many animals, we've made it clear to both the milk producer organizations and the RPO that since those animals are sharing the epidemiological unit, their numbers should reflect those labor tenants in those farms. So when we say we've vaccinated so many dairy heads, we include those people that are working in those farms and that might be owning livestock within those farms. So we've covered that aspect of it. Or the next slide is it just indicates the two types of vaccine that has been used. The one from Biogenesis from Argentina, Aftol is from Turkey. Next slide. So far, we remember the animals that are vaccinated must be identifiable. And the only mechanism at the moment that we have on our hand, though we're exploring more, it's ear tags, which is a radio frequency RDF tags, RFID tags, radio frequency identification tags that are there. We were trying to catch up with, as we procure the tags and us putting them on cattle and then collecting the data of those cattle. Because we need to know the owner, we need to know the locality of those animals so that if they are picked up on the road next time, we can then trace back. This works with the government system, the lead system, but there are other 1 or 2 systems that are out there circulating on the commercial farmers that we need to try and marry them together so that we've got a comprehensive database of all cattle in the province and we know where they are and what they are doing. This would actually strengthen the movement.
Yes. Just to try and summarize the 2 hours.
Okay, fine. No, okay. Okay. Just summarize, well, we're okay with the slaughtering capacity of the province for animals that are FMT positive. If you look at the next slide, yeah, we just to highlight that we've had to intervene on some pig farms that had an outbreak in around Dundee area. The next slide talks to the designated abattoirs, the abattoirs that are officially allowed to slaughter FMT. Can you skip a slide, please? Yes, it talks to the abattoirs that are allowed to slaughter proven animals to be FMT positive. To an extent, it's somehow redundant, but we then still comply with that protocol. We're increasing our numbers for both pigs and cattle. Next slide. As I've indicated, that we are working with all farmer organizations, KZN, MPO, Iguanalu, which is assisting us in terms of permitting system. The next slide. Yeah, this outlines the dates at which we are hoping to start on the upcoming districts, but it's not cast in stone. There are few variables that would affect when and how do we go there. As outlined, we've started Uku, Herekwala, Mkhanyakote, we're finished with, now we're in Zululand. Then we're hoping to come to Mkungundlovu afterwards. But as I'm saying, this is not cast in stone. Next slide. If we can skip the next slide and go to the one of the budgetary requirements. Yeah. This is anticipated expenditure. The HOD would talk to about the submissions to national and the disaster center, but these are the requirements that we've put together to say what would be the requirements. 140 tools for leads. Then we've got AMA data clerks that will actually upload the collated data. We were thinking of 100 ASTs, but the department has made available 60 of them. Deep tanks throughout the province are not in a good state. I'm just been happy that we've been allocated a budget to rehabilitate deep tanks. If we remember very well, these deep tanks were last rehabilitated around 2008. So some of them have now are now dilapidated again. So we look into it, and there are issues like S&T over time that are covered on the budget that will try and limit, as the HOD has said. If you go to the next slide number 27. Next one, yeah. We have advertised for 60 animal health technicians to come in on contract. As the process towards the end, they should be starting soon. We've advertised for also 80 data capturers and 22 clerks to capture the data. These are things that 15 million outlines the remedies that were procured to assist just before we started vaccination, that the MNC is intervene to assist. And some of them are things that we're currently using now to dealing with the outbreak. If you can skip slide, same thing, slide 28, slide 29. I would just like to indicate that the slide 29. Just to highlight that the government is reviewing the regulations that govern the management of an FMT positive herd in this country to actually reflect the current reality that we have on the ground for our outbreak. the whole thing, it would be a bit too technical to talk about 3 months and day zero for the members. But the whole thing is to try and acknowledge the fact that we now are dealing with a situation where the whole province is found positive. Now, we can't block people from marketing or slaughtering the animals, but it must be done on a cost-effective and scientific-based approach. The next one would be the amount of Red Cross permits that have been requested for movement of, next slide, of cattle, especially of the disease management area. Then permits that have been issued. Then maybe one, let's go straight to challenges, which is like 32. And mitigation. Staff shortage has been an issue. All the government departments have got that issue, but we've managed to put together 20 teams that goes to an area and just clean it up. There is a technical issue with the new vaccine that we've received because it was not a vaccine that we are familiar with. So there were a bit of technical problems and all of that, but then we've agreed and resolved most of those programs. So we're going forward with I'm not going to repeat, the HOD has spoken about SAT1 and SAT2 and Herekuala, but we've now got everything. So there's also other technical issues about the 8 hours post-opening of the vaccine, which we've resolved with the manufacturer, that it can be kept overnight. Because the problem was that if you open a bottle in the afternoon before you close, you then have to throw it away because you can't use it after 8 hours. So it was practically impossible. So they've consulted the manufacturer, who said, no. As long as it's kept cool, it should be fine. The next slide. Okay, I've spoken to pigs. The other challenge that we're having, it's the number of ear tags for the ear tags for the animals that are vaccinated. We're hoping by the time when we do our second round on the vaccination, because we'll have to come back after 6 months, we would be finalizing the issue of ear tagging of these animals. The rest, and then I'll go to the last slide. You said it's recommended that the KZN portfolio committee notes and support the efforts of DART. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Skakan. Honourable members, here is the report. We want to engage with the report. I think they've responded to some of the questions that were raised by Honourable Mngadi. Honourable Zama.
Thank you, Chair. Okay. We welcome the report of FMD. Thank you so much. Indeed, other places, they don't have deep tank at all. At all. Other places, nje afile adinga ukulungiswa. Ngiyabonga ngoba uyakuphakamisa lokho. When it comes to foot and mouth disease, what measure took place to do awareness? Because I do understand for commercial farmers, they are aware. What about the small scale farmers? And awareness is not enough. I suggest if you're doing awareness, you must do the pamphlets. I know you'll go to radio station and do whatever you're supposed to do, but I think that can help the community to do the pamphlets. Those pamphlets, you can send it to schools for children to take it to their parents, or you can get EPWP volunteers to distribute them. Emma rank, everyone can get those pamphlets, must be in details, because some other people, they don't know if inkomi sifile katina matele, yenziwa njani leyo nkomo, iyadliwa noma iyagqitshwa noma yenziwa njani. Some of the community they're not aware. So if you can assist us about that for those districts, I believe like 4 districts, some other districts, and one. If you can do more awareness about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nzama. Honorable Mngadi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Sorry, let me just open my notes again. Chair, mine really is around basic issues of practicality and the capacity of rollout, which is why I wanted a sort of clear figure as indicated within the budget to sort of understand just what the capacity of the department is in terms of real available resources to roll this out. Because I think what we're having now is, you'll recall that there was a lot of pressure put on the department to sort of get the capacity and the rollout ready in anticipation for the volume of vaccines that were coming in. And we did this because we knew that when the vaccines started, being imported and we'd get our allocation of doses from national, that the challenge would be feet and boots on the ground and their ability to reach even the most remote parts of our province to ensure that we reach the 80% herd immunity, which is recommended. And what we're seeing now is that sort of play out. So that's why I want sort of clear figures around how much money is available, how many people we've employed, what is their realistic weekly reach of animals in terms of vaccination. I know we also are relying on the private sector, and I'm assuming that the backlog between the doses administered, which you say is 1.120 million, versus the reported cases of 718,000, that backlog is also because maybe you're not getting that data in from the private sector enough to update your own records. So maybe just clarity on that as well. So yeah, I really still am missing that, because we know, Chair, that even the vaccines that we have now, both of them, they offer between 4 and 6 months of immunity. And if you don't have a strategy, and I see the department says they have 5 months, and they've given themselves 5 months, but they're currently at about 30% of the herd, and that's the first shot. So it becomes helpful for us to get a bird's eye view of the plan. I see in one of the slides they've shown us some of the farms that they've vaccinated in the south, the Uber districts in Sosonke, where dairy herds are, and I see they're saying that they finished in Umkanyagute, which is debatable because we know that the spread there also comes from game reserves and the buffalo. So I'm not sure if that issue, including the fencing, has been addressed effectively. But what the fight now is, and what the concern is that we have vaccines. We started distributing them effectively in some parts of the province as early as February. But those animals that were vaccinated in February, by June, July, their immunity will fade and they will be susceptible to reinfection. And it doesn't seem like we have enough capacity in the province currently to address that, or to get the herd to herd immunity in time for that to not take place, and until we see sort of a decrease of those cases. So the report was comprehensive, and I welcome it, but I think it still leaves a lot of those practical questions around the implementation and the effectiveness of the rollout in the province as mandated by the provincial department. And so, yeah, my questions really are to those statistics. Is the shortfall of reporting a lot coming from the guys who are managing their own vaccinations and helping, so through the private sector? That's one. Two, if we look at the rollout plan of the districts you're planning to vaccinate going forward, do we have enough boots on the ground to meet the 5-month deadline, given that we are in month 2 of those 5 months? And 3, just the figures of how many boots are on the ground, how much money is allocated to them, but also if we can have an analysis of, if that is not enough, how much more funding is needed to increase boots on the ground. And now we're talking about veterinary assistants that are going to also help monitor this and distribute those vaccines. How many more are missing, and how much money does the province maybe need, so that we can also maybe assist the department? And this is why we've always been quite vocal here, because if you give us the actual, issues on the ground and some of the challenges you're facing, we're able to then galvanize that support and put pressure where it needs to go to ensure that the department isn't then found, wanting. Because the reality of this is now that a lot of the focus was on the national department when vaccines weren't coming in, and there were a host of reasons that was the case. We're now seeing that that issue is resolved, and so pressure now really comes to the department, who's mandated to sort of roll out the vaccination program. And if there are areas of concern and pockets of where we're found wanting in the province, we need to understand just how dire that situation is, so that we can come in and intervene immediately. But for now, it does seem like the department is slowly starting to find its feet. But from what I've seen in the reports and from what we can also see on the ground, it's seeming that we're just moving too slow. And because of that pace, the disease is going to sort of outpace us in terms of, having an effective rollout strategy. And I see the timelines are going into the 2030s, 2036. And the problem with that, though, is that we start losing out on market access and acquisition, and it in the long term disadvantages even our major commercial farmers. So we just need that clarity, so that the reports that we can also then give to our communities who are anxious around this disease is accurate. And I also see here that you've made provision. This is the last one, Chair, that we're going to vaccinate 2.4 million cattle in the province. That's all well and good, but we know that this disease is affecting pigs, it affects sheep, and a whole host of other animals, including wild animals. And so we don't see any sort of report backs on if you've had the engagements with the game farm owners. Because the reality here, particularly in places like Zululand, Umzinyathi, Newcastle, is that farmers are breaking fences of game reserves to actively access herding or grounds or fields for their animals to herd, and that's where they get the interaction between them and the buffaloes and things like that. If you don't resolve that issue, that's the basic source issue, particularly in those districts, you're not going to win the fight here. So have those engagements been had? We also know that somewhere up the river, a buffalo will die or drink water. That river flows into communities where that's a water source for some of our commercial farmers. That's a water source for some of our subsistence farmers and communal farmers, and then their animals get sick through that. So is there a way in which we've tracked also those kinds of infections? Because again, we're saying this is the worst outbreak that we've had, but in previous outbreaks, the differentiating factor that allowed us to contain them was, finding the source of where most of these infections are coming from and dealing with that as well, while also implementing the vaccination program. So it's not just about vaccinations, which I think the bulk of this presentation is focused on. It really is around the holistic intervention of how we curb this disease. And it does start with the game farmers. It starts with what my honorable colleague was saying, education in terms of, are we reaching the most remote areas in our province? Do they know what the biosecurity protocols are? Are we also then, because we now see that we've lost we clearly aren't going to call for a state of disaster in the province, so we don't have access to those resources and interdepartmental interventions and collaborations. So are we just relying on the private sector to have those strict biosecurity protocols, or does the department also have capacity to roll those out, especially in the areas where we haven't reached, which seem to be Abolembe, Kinzadry, those districts? Are the biosecurity hazards or biosecurity protocols rather being implemented effectively there? We need that full picture, colleagues, so that we can have a real grasp of where we are as a province in the fight against FMD. And Chairperson, it's going to be an indictment of us, particularly within the GPU, if we don't get this correct in the province, because people are looking to us to really win this. And so mine would just be a plea that can the reports be even more comprehensive and not shy away from telling us where the actual problems and gaps are, so that we can also assist to try and to resolve that if needs be. Thanks, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Honourable Mngadi. Honourable members, my worry is that I don't want us to have a situation where we'll be losing a quorum of the committee, because other members are now starting to move to their next committee meeting. Now, what I'll do this. I know I won't give you to respond now. So what we'll be doing, what we'll be doing going forward is that maybe in our next meeting, we don't need the background now in terms of the report. You have presented here for about 4 times now. We don't take us to what happened. We know those things now. We want to see the impact now. Just focus on the impact. Are we winning? Are we not winning? In terms of the movement of animals, which are areas that which are still closed, which are the ones that are open now. In terms of the rollout, you have indicated which districts. Have you been able to cover all the districts? How far are you in terms of Herigwala? How many? Just give that percentage so that we'll see how far you've gone in terms of that. So just give us now a progress report accounting to what we have been doing thus far on the measures that you have put forward, what you have been doing. Are we winning the game? Like, for instance, we were expecting that in terms of the areas which were, had where you identified this, a disease, like for instance, current beef. Have you been able to? How many animals were affected? How far? Where are we now in terms of trying to deal with that disease in that particular area? Tell us about the areas that we have identified this disease. So let's be practical now. So that we can judge you whether you are winning this battle or not. I think that's the account that we will need moving forward. We obviously, I had the Honourable Mngadi raise the issue of the buffaloes in terms of the corridor disease. What's the impact of this FMD on those in that corridor? So that we see your plan. What's your plan in those areas? So that's a simple report that we'll need now. That is accounting on what we are doing after. We have intervened in these areas. We will ask you to respond to that now. We'll give you time to prepare for that, then, so that you can get that report in our next meeting. Let me give you. I know there is an issue when we are dealing with apologies that we forgot to present. Baba Ulokuzan, manager.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members. Greetings belatedly to the entourage from the department, starting from the HOD, the entire executive. My Honorable Chairperson is to present the apology of Honorable Simang, whose apology came whilst the meeting was in progress. Yes, it was. I only saw it on the email, so I needed to put it on record that he sent an apology. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Okay.